I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the price of living your own life. So living your own life is something that is actually very difficult to do. This is because doing so functionally requires that you resist the pressure to conform to your culture's expectations of what your life is supposed to look like. In my culture, this looks something like, well, first you graduate high school, and then you go to college. And once you finish college, you try to land a good job. And if you work really hard at that job, you will climb the ladder and make a good salary. And this will allow you to buy a car and a nice house and a vacation in Hawaii. Of course, while you're advancing your career, you should also be looking for that special someone. After you date for a while, you should become exclusively monogamous. After a year of this, you should move in together. And after a year of this, you should get married. And after a year of this, you should have kids. You'll go to church on Sundays and spend every other Thanksgiving at your in-laws and encourage your kids to graduate high school so they can go to college, so they can get a good job, etc. You understand what I'm saying? There is a very clear runway that your culture maintains with respect to how your relationships are supposed to proceed, with respect to how your career is supposed to progress, and with respect to how your family is supposed to behave. And let me tell you, those runways don't work for a lot of people. I mean, just look at marriage. Everyone knows that it fails more often than it succeeds, and yet people continue to get married. Not only that, but if you tell people that you are not interested in getting married, they'll look at you like you have two heads, even if their own marriages are broken and unhappy. By the same token, most jobs are neither necessary nor interesting nor rewarding. They will also never make you rich. True financial freedom will never come from a job. Every day, millions of people work jobs that they literally hate so that they can continue to earn enough to afford to live in a city to work a job that they literally hate. And this is common knowledge. And yet, people continue to get jobs. Not only that, but if you tell people that you're interested in working for yourself or becoming an entrepreneur, they'll look at you like you have a screw loose, even if they are counting the days to their own retirements. The fact of the matter is that these structures are not going to work for a lot of people. If you actually want a life that fits you, that fits your preferences and your interests and your personality and your temperament, you're going to have to build it yourself. Because the only life that could possibly fit you that well is going to be custom tailored for you. Just like you can't expect clothes to really fit you if you just buy them off the rack, you can't expect your life to really work for you if you just follow your culture's recommendations. That's the mental equivalent of shopping at Walmart. It will work to a point some of the time. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from this message, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the thanks button and tip me in proportion to the value you feel you've derived from this episode. I count on your support to make all this happen. I really appreciate it. I will also soon be starting a weekly newsletter, so if you want to opt in, you can do so on my website. Finally, if you're thinking of going to grad school, then please check out my top-rated GRE study program at stellargre.com. I wrote all the content myself. It's the same strategies that got me my perfect score. I think you'll find it very excellent. So let's get back to it. So why don't more people live their own lives? Well, there is a cost associated with living your own life. The cost is simple, but it's hard for a lot of people to pay. Here it is. The cost of living your own life is the approval of others. That's it. If you want to live your own life, you have to give up any claim to social approval. Even though these cultures fail people every single day, people are very emotionally attached to them. They've largely dictated how their friends have lived their lives. They've largely dictated how their relatives have lived their lives. And they've largely dictated how their neighbors and colleagues and fellow congregants live their lives as well. These people might not be able to approve of your choices because chances are they won't be able to understand them. And how can someone possibly approve of something that he doesn't understand? But that's the reality. The more your life deviates from these cultural expectations, the less your life becomes comprehensible to others, And this can be a very lonely situation. What's more, as soon as you start to say, hey, you know what? That doesn't really work for me, and you start to take a different path, you run the risk of inciting the envy of others because your courage will reflect their own cowardice. It will reflect the extent to which they have given up on their own lives. And this generally does not make people feel very good. Couple the incomprehensibility of your life with the vaguely negative feeling they tend to experience in your presence, and you have an easy recipe for hostility, aggression, and ostracization, which is why people who choose their own paths in life are subject to experiencing far more persecution and injustice than those who conform, even if their choices aren't harming anyone. So it's important to understand that the approval of others isn't just like this warm, fuzzy emotional validation. It's a kind of social safety net upon which those who do not conform cannot rely. Many people incorrectly believe that it would be easy for them to forego the approval of others, mostly because others is still, in this case, an abstract entity. It isn't anyone in particular. It's harder when it's your dad or your wife or your children. I don't care how cold and hard you think you are, I guarantee there are some people in your life that you would definitely prefer for them to support you. However, the fact of the matter is that your friends might not be able to do that. Your siblings might not be able to do that. Your parents might not be able to do that. When you start to live your own life, you're going to not be able to count on the support and understanding of those around you, and it's potentially going to feel very lonely. Loneliness is a very difficult emotion for many people to tolerate. And it's loneliness that often drives those who start to live their own lives back into those conventional structures. They may not work, but at least there are other people there. I might be miserable, but at least I'll have company. And we can all kind of be miserable together. And that's actually what a lot of the world is, a community of shared suffering. It's not the only way to live, but it's how a lot of people live. Fortunately, though, and let's end this on a high note, this doesn't have to last. The issue is that your family and your friends are largely in your life by accident. Like you did not ask to be born into your family. It was not your choice to be born to those parents at that time in that place. By the same token, most of your friends are accidental friends. You all happen to be born in the same general geographical region at around the same time. And you struck up a relationship because you both happen to be, assigned to the same homeroom. Question: how many of your friends would you be friends with if you met them today? If you've actually allowed yourself to grow and change over the past 10 or 20 years, probably not many of them. You both will have taken divergent paths in life, and your values now might be very different. Now, I'm not saying to break up with your old friends, but to understand that there are some things that old friends can give you, and there are some things that old friends can't give you. And if you start to live your own life, these friends might not be able to give you support and approval. They might be able to, but they might not be able to, and that's to be expected. Now, the good news is that once you start to live your own life and you forego the approval of others, and your life actually begins to manifest, you will attract other people into your life who resonate with that vision. Other people for whom your life is intelligible and comprehensible. And then you definitely won't be lonely. In fact, this might be the only way to ensure that you are seen and understood by those around you. You just can't have it both ways. If you want to be approved by the masses, then you have to be understandable to the masses, which means that you cannot deviate from a conventional life. On the other hand, if you want your own life, if you want your own chance at happiness and wealth and freedom, then you have to be incomprehensible to the masses. Because if they still understand you, you probably haven't deviated enough to make a difference. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've gotten this far, you might as well like this episode and subscribe to this channel. You may also consider becoming a channel member with perks like the priority review of comments or booking a paid consultation. As always, thank you for listening.